What's going on? We're back, and it's time to better know a commander. We have quite the spectrum of decks this week. The father of Phyrexia, a follower of Phyrexia, a deep dive into what the Nazgûl were doing in Lord of the Rings, and an absolute powerhouse artificer from Kaladesh. If you like what you're seeing, smash that like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Those are the best ways to make sure this channel keeps growing. Now, without further ado, let's get into Budget Yawg Daddy. Come on, who doesn't love an awesome budget deck? We're talking Yawgmoth Thran Physician for around $100. Yeah, I remember when Yawgmoth was first released, commander tables were super worried. As long as you had things to sacrifice, the board was going to be clear. You could just take care of everything. And now we don't see that as much anymore, but we can build a pretty filthy looking Aristocrats deck here. And we'll still have room to splurge on a few cards. So here we go, Mono Black Aristocrats. Right away, we need things that produce other creatures. So very likely Nest of Scarabs is going to be one of the best cards in your deck. The synergy with Yawgmoth is just unchallenged. We also need payoffs, so we're playing cards like Death Greeter, Vindictive Vampire, Falconwrath Noble, and of course Blood Artist. The other kind of creature that Yawgmoth loves? Undying creatures. So we're sticking Butcher Ghoul into this deck. Once it's out, the -1 counters we put on it cancel out the Undying +1/+1 counters. So you'll be able to sacrifice this thing over and over and over again. We also get to play the Master Breeder himself, Endrick Sar. You're going to make a ton of Thralls and continuously sack them to drain out your opponents. Cards are going in and out of your graveyard like crazy, so we're playing Sir Conrad the Grim and Ayara, First of Loch Thwain. Keeping the payoffs moving, we've got Mirkwood Bats. And to bring back anything that we really need, we've got Vat of Rebirth. Fairly new card. I think it fits in really well here. Another payoff, one of the mythic artifacts from Zendikar Rising Draft. If you were able to get this, you built hard into clerics. And conveniently, Yawgmoth is a cleric. Let's go old school now and get you Lightning Coils. If you can be killing a bunch of creatures on your board over and over again, every upkeep, you're going to have so many charge counters on Lightning Coils. Think of all the 3/1s. Think of all the 3/1s. Okay, and since we're saving so much money on everything else, treat yourself to a Skull Clamp. They're under $5 now. It's totally worth it. And we need tons of black mana. And thankfully, Black Market is now super cheap as well. I think it's under $4. So those are your two big spends beyond Yawgmoth himself. Here's a way to remove creatures that are a problem on other people's boards. We've got Font of Agonies. I think we can also turn Yawgmoth into a payoff with Agent of the Iron Throne. I love backgrounds. The more we get to play with these backgrounds, the more I think people are going to see that Commander Legends Baldur's Gate was really an underrated set and should be explored more thoroughly. So there you go. A really good start on a deck. Anything like a skeleton is a good card to add to the deck. They come back from the graveyard. You're going to play a bunch of swamps, so your mana base is going to cost almost zero mana, or $0. It's going to make tons of mana though. And there's a lot of good upgrades that you can build on as you go. So put on that doctor's coat and get to business. Hope this helps. If you'd like value in the command zone, this is the deck for you. We're talking Glissa Sunslayer. We've got a 3-mana 3/3 with First Strike and Death Touch, and a ton of combat damage triggers. You get your choice of lose a life, draw a card, destroy target enchantment, or remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. Any kind of counters. This art is cool and all, but this is the card I would be playing, and it doesn't cost that much more. So, what kind of counters can we remove that actually make things good for us? Green and black sagas. The one downside with sagas in Commander is one trigger of them is fine, but eventually you go to the graveyard and you get a little bit of value over the course of 3 turns. But if you can start resetting those sagas, you're going to get so much value. Like, look at the Eldest Reborn. Imagine a play pattern of play this, each opponent sacks a creature. You go to combat, you deal damage to someone, and you remove a counter. Now on the next upkeep, each opponent sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker because you've removed the counters. That seems real good. You also get to play Binding the Old Gods, again with more removal. This deck is quickly becoming a black-green saga rock deck. The rock just being unstoppable 1-for-1 trades. And with your sagas usually triggering against all your opponents, that's a really good deal. So how do we support that? We've got our Gothian Enchantress to draw cards. We've got Enchantress's Presence to draw cards. We've got Verduran Enchantress to draw cards. We've got Sanctum Weaver to add mana for all the enchantments we're going to have in play. Glissa is going to be pretty much unblockable throughout the game, but just in case we can play Trailblazer's Boots. We also get to play Eidolon of Blossoms to draw more cards. Now let's look at some more sagas that we can play. How about the War in Heaven? You draw 3 cards, you lose 3 life. Then mill 3 cards. Then if you don't like what's in your graveyard, you just reset the saga counters and you do it all over again. Azusa's Many Journeys is essentially Explore, but on a super good budget. And then, although it would be super slow to remove these 3 at a time, we're going to play Dark Depths and Thespian Stage to maybe stick a Merit Lage into play and crunch our opponents while we're taking away things from them one by one. I also think, oddly enough, this is a Bitter Blossom deck. You're going to be spinning your tires a little bit, so putting up a 1/1 fairy to block every turn or get in there for a bit of damage is always a good thing. And, like, who doesn't want to play Bitter Blossom, right? So, some really nutty sagas that we can control are the backsides of Shieldred and Vorinclex. They may have gone to one name, but, like, just take a look at what these things do on the backside. The True Scriptures destroy creatures, get people discarding, and you can take the counters off and do those again. The Grand Evolution gets you creatures to the battlefield, gets you counters. Come on, these are awesome. Since we're playing enchantments, I think we should be playing the best enchantment removal we can, and that's Oubliette. Sticking Oubliette out there and taking away an opponent's commander with phasing is amazing. They don't get to change zones. This thing is on the battlefield, pretending to be there. I love it. Because we're playing the Rock, we essentially get to play some land hate as well. Infernal Darkness is great here. Cumulative upkeep means we need to put age counters on this thing, but we'll be able to remove age counters and turn it into pay black and 1 life to make it so everyone's mana produces black only. And finally, we get to play Invasions, specifically Invasion of Ikoria. It's got 6 battle counters on it, so if we can remove those a couple of times, we get the backside, which is awesome. But also, this is going to tutor a creature to the battlefield for us right away. We also get the backside, like I said, Zalortha, Apex of Ikoria. Look how big this dinosaur dragon thingy is. Your creatures also do damage equal to their toughness. So, we've got lots of value in the command zone. We've got some cards for the chip-ins. We've got lots of board control. Glissa Sunslayer. Seems like a great time to me. Hope this helps. Join me for this deep dive. Let's get a closer look at a Lord of the Nazgûl deck. I absolutely love what we've come to. Some really cool takes on things, a little bit of spell slinging, some really powerful creatures. Let's do it. Lord of the Nazgûl, 5 mana flying, 4/3. As we cast spells, we make Wraith tokens. Once we get to 9 Wraiths, we have 9 9s. So in theory, we want to cast a bunch of instants, make a bunch of tokens on our opponent's turn, get up to 9 creatures, and start beating face. Obviously, we're going to play all 9 Nazgûl. We're going to have some creatures in the deck, right? Now, the choice is yours as to whether you go for 1 art, all the same, or if you try and find all 9 of the arts. I really did think this card was going to go down in price, but it just hasn't. People love this way too much. And that's it. That's all the creatures in the deck. So where do we go from here? Well, we're going to play Propaganda and just make it less nice to attack us. Obviously, if we're playing a ton of instants, we have blockers for days, but we do have to get the Lord of the Nazgûl out on the battlefield too. Since we're playing 9 9s, I felt like it was okay to play Languish in the deck. A couple good board wipes that do minus damage or give -1 counters. Think like Black Sun Zenith or Toxic Deluge are also appropriate. And now here's where the deck gets real fun. We're going to get into the court and become the monarch. So we've got Court of Ambition. We've got Court of Cunning, which is just annoying but still really fun. We've got Court of Lochthwain. And we've got Court of Vantress. Anytime we can get the monarch back is good. We're making it tough to attack us. We have tons of creatures to block. We're going to keep the monarchy. We're going to get that extra card draw. You've all heard me say it before, monarchy is the best mechanic in Commander, so we might as well lean into that with our Lord of the Rings Nazgûl deck. We're also going to add in the initiative as one of the mechanics our deck is using. Here we've got From the Catacombs. We've got a 5 mana reanimate spell that gives us the initiative. But the spell also has escape, which means we can regain the initiative every turn if we need to. I am here for that. And this art. What is that thing? We have a 3-mana counter spell that'll make us a Wraith and gain us the initiative. And we're also going to play Fly. This is a curiosity effect, but instead of drawing cards, we're going to venture into a dungeon every time our creature deals damage. So we've got Monarchy, we've got Initiative, we've got Venture into a Dungeon. That is a few extra tokens to carry around in our box, but we are playing a card that makes Nazgûl tokens, Wraith tokens, so we might as well just bring a whole bunch of tokens with us. Since we're making tons of 3/3s, or at least they'll be 3/3s till they're 9/9s, we might as well turn creatures into 2/2s if we can. So we're playing Cyber Conversion, but you could definitely build in a weird morph package that turns other people's creatures face down. Instants to me means cantrips and removal spells. So we got things like Consider and Opt. Also, we have a Lord of the Rings Consider, so we might as well use it. Making 3-mana creatures by destroying them is a great idea. We also will then have a 3/3 to block something else. So Pongify fits really well into this deck. Obviously, we're going to have a ton of counter spells. It's a blue-black deck. You would be silly not to. We get to play Sauron's Ransom as well. So you get this cool Factor Fiction plus a 3/3 Wraith. People are going to try and remove the Lord of the Nazgûl, so we need cards like Not Dead After All and Malakir Rebirth. We also can attack with 8 creatures and cast Tainted Strike on one of our Wraiths, and all of a sudden it'll be a 9/9 with +1/+0 because we added another Wraith to the table. And we can kill someone with Infect, which sounds super funny and out of nowhere. And finally, since we're going to be milling people and countering spells and putting lots of good stuff in our opponent's graveyard, we get to play Mnemonic Betrayal. I am waiting for the day that we get a Secret Lair art for this card. The art's amazing to begin with, but I just want something full art, shiny, that I can play where people get concerned. So we got another blue-black control deck. Love building these. Thanks for the suggestion. Hope this helps. Imagine a world where when you just sneeze, achoo, and a combo falls out of your Magic deck. That's what playing Breya Ethereum Sculptor is like. We're in a no-green commander deck where the commander can sacrifice itself. I think if it didn't have the ability to sacrifice itself, you'd probably be fine. Probably. But here we are. So any way we can generate infinite mana means we get to sacrifice Breya and use her drain ability to take out the table. This is truly beautiful. We've got a heavy artifact themed deck, so we're playing Joyra Weatherlight Captain. Cast your artifacts, draw cards, cast your artifacts, draw cards. Easy peasy. We got Emery, because our graveyard is going to be important. Just having a Mirkwood Bats on the battlefield and infinite mana will also drain out your opponents. Probably the easiest combo to assemble for infinite mana is a bunch of mana rocks, Isochron Scepter, and Dramatic Reversal underneath it. You tap it, you untap all your mana rocks, you tap them for mana, you tap this again, repeat. Now, I wouldn't play Chromatic Lantern, but a lot of people love making sure all their lands tap for all the colors they need, and Breya is pretty color intensive for an artifact deck, so that's understandable. If you wanted to, you could play Thopter Foundry and Time Sieve. You might as well jam another combo card in here with Urza Lord High Artificer. Turn all your artifacts into Mox Sapphire. Make things cheaper with Enthusiast Mechanaut. Or we can just spend mana blinking Breya with Eldrazi Displacer. Tons of artifacts means tons of treasures probably, so Magda fits into this deck nicely. And it's just going to go find Unwinding Clock. To no one's surprise, this artifact deck is also a Bolas's Citadel deck. And now, if that wasn't enough combo-tastic beauty for you, we also have Underworld Breach. What are we putting with Underworld Breach, you ask? Lion's Eye Diamond. And of course, Brain Freeze. So, you cast Lion's Eye Diamond, you storm off with Brain Freeze, you empty out your library. You could cast Thassa's Oracle, or you can do the fun thing and then Brain Freeze your opponents so that when you pass the turn, they die from not having cards in their library. Again, I mean, you can just sacrifice Breya and drain out the table too. It's all good stuff. People get really frustrated playing against Breya because the staying power of just putting a bunch of mana rocks on the table and having blockers and being in blue and being able to combo so easily just make her very frustrating. And also, the longer the game goes on, the more powerful she is. Lots of times games will keep going, maybe hit turn 10, turn 11, and people will run out of resources. Breya will cast a board wipe, and then start doing its thing. Now, I love that kind of gameplay. I love that kind of card. I play Tim Necrom all the time, which, I mean, is essentially a Breya deck, or at least there's lots of overlapping cards, so I get it. I also get the idea that maybe it's not so pleasant to play against, but, you know, everyone's got their poison, so. Get that Ethereum Shaper onto the battlefield, start making blue Thopter tokens, and heck, treat yourself to a Krark Clan Ironworks along the way. Why not? Hope this helps.